and today I will be speaking on failures and stand-ups. So I thought, why not do a stand-up about failures, of course, but I'm sitting down, so you can't technically call this a stand-up, it's a sit-down. It's a new format that really is going to be the most trendy format for business people. Will be just sitting down, having a sit-down. So today, welcome to our sit-down about failures. During this meeting, you will learn how to utilize your failures, your own and the failures of others in your life to be more successful and better human beings. We'll talk about how to build resilience in your startups or in your life, and how you can foster supporting environment in terms of allowing people around you, including yourself, fail in life without people blaming you and pouring a lot of negativity on your head. That's what usually happens. If I say, I'm wrong, I failed, I fucked up, then it's connected with bad feelings about yourself, and nobody likes a negativity. We are hardwired for positive feedback and positive emotions, and whenever something is negative, we try to run away from it. So we'll talk about how to create psychological safety for your team, where just admitting to a mistake is natural and should be done without this emotional baggage that is often attached to it. Well, I will recommend some reading for you if you want to dig deeper. I'll start with my own book. So as you expected, I'll try to sell you lots of stuff during this presentation. This is one of the books. It's unfortunately in Czech. It's called The Art of Failure, and I wrote it with Professor Hinek. And it gives you a basic introduction on human failure. So basically, it answers how not to feel as a failure in life, which some of us are, but we still can get rid of the feeling. No, I was joking. None of you, of course. Another book I like is let's see, how does this work? It's A Life in Error by Professor Reason. Yes, I'd like to reason about Professor Reason. It's another book I recommend for you to read. We will probably share the details. And lastly, there is another book that I recommend, which is called Right Kind of Wrong by Professor Amy Edmondson. And I will introduce a few basic concepts during our mastermind session. I like the word mastermind because all of us are masters and our minds are exceptional. So I think that's the reason we are here. So talking about failures, first of all, let me make a distinction. It's a subtle one, but failure is often misused when we say he failed or he made a mistake. That's two different things. And you don't think about that very often. Some of us use these expressions interchangeably. So what's the difference? Any suggestion from you, masterminds, about the difference between an error or a mistake and failure on the other side? What do you think?
I think a failure is more serious or more permanent, and the mistake is just the bump on the road. It's just a mistake.
Well, yeah, that's a good approach. That mistake or error is something smaller in a way, and failure feels bigger and more important. But there is a technical distinction which goes as follows. If it's a mistake or error, which I will use interchangeably, it means there is a recipe, there is a procedure which I did not follow properly. So if you make an error in calculation or a mistake, you know there is the correct way to do the equation to solve it. You just make an error but you know how to solve it in principle. There is a recipe, there is an algorithm for it. So lots of things in your daily and business lives are just errors and mistakes where you just get it wrong, but it's not a failure. It's just a mistake or an error. There was a recipe, there was a procedure. So for example, if I misuse a word in English, or I make a mistake in grammar, that's mistakes, that's not failures. So I think it's important to do this, especially academics like to begin with definitions, but I think it's useful because we tend to misuse the terms. So an error or mistake is an instance when there is a procedure, a known procedure for you should have followed, but you didn't. Failure, on the other hand, is for a situation where there is no recipe or procedure. So there is not a basic recipe for, I don't know, leading a happy life or building a startup, especially in new areas and territories. So if all startups were like apples, as economists like to say, if there is a perfect market, perfect competition, everybody's selling same stuff. So in theory, there could be a procedure how to build a successful startup if all startups were exactly the same, selling exactly the same kind of product to the same customer. But most of us live fortunately in a different world, and there are failures usually when there are new territories. So now I can see myself on the screen, which is the most horrible thing that can happen to you. So I don't know how to get rid of it, but yeah, now it's better. Please stay there. And so that's one distinction. About mistakes and errors, they tend to be pretty basic. So usually it's slips of the words, or you send an email to someone else. So it's an error, a mistake, it's not a failure. But still, these mistakes can have really bad consequences, even though small ones. If you accidentally send the wrong message to your customer instead of your partner, that can get very tricky with a lot of repercussions. Then there are mistakes or errors that are complex in nature. And there are the stupid mistakes, like sending an email to the wrong person or a message. And there are intelligent failures or mistakes. Usually, intelligent failures appear in novel areas, in new lands. If your startup is a new one, using new technology for a need that is being formed in the market, all is new, there is no recipe, there is not an algorithm of doing this right, then failures will be inevitable. They will happen, especially if you don't have a map, you don't have a plan, you don't have a procedure, there will be failures. So in fact, if your startup or your project is experiencing failures, it might be an indication that you are moving in a new territory. There has no prior experience of dealing with that. And I think we live in a world that is new, especially the tech world of all these artificial intelligent language models and quantum computers on the rise, and new deep tech solutions. So this is all new, and you are bound to have failures. Right. So how do you accommodate these failures, and how do you build on these failures? Basically, a prerequisite is, as I indicated at the beginning, is creating a safe environment for people to say, I got it wrong, sorry, I failed. And they shouldn't feel the guilt that is usually associated when we say, I didn't succeed. Everybody wants to succeed, and everybody is happy to report, I made the biggest sale, I succeeded, I created a beautiful picture and it won something. Everybody loves this, but it should be in the interest of your whatever project or startup that everybody on the team should feel fine to provide even this kind of negative feedback. So saying, I got it wrong. Why is it important? Well, usually if something goes wrong and people don't tell you, the longer it takes finally for you or them or someone to discover there had been a failure early on in when you are building something, the graver, the more pressing, the more disastrous consequences are likely to appear. So if you report an error, a mistake, a potentially problematic action or process, someone may have sent the wrong email, someone may have, the results of a pilot are not as successful as everyone expected, and someone would try to downplay the importance, to hide the real figures, then this will have disastrous consequences if a product that uses the results of the pilot gets final in the market. So most of us startuppers are used to piloting, building prototypes, and we just need an honest, fast feedback based on the stuff that we build. And this applies, of course, to customers who even them, quite often, they are afraid and reluctant to provide you with an honest feedback. So if you are investigating whether your future service or product will make it big in the market, and you ask the customer, do you like this? Do you want this product? Quite often, they are trying to please you as a person who is doing the interview. And if they like you, they are reluctant to tell you, no, it fails my expectation. It's not as good. They just hate giving you negative feedback. So it's important, even if you are asking real customers, that you should mistrust the marketing techniques involved, which are usually questionnaires, feedback forms. People will more likely, especially if they like you, and in general like the idea, will give you positive feedback, which will be a lie. It will be wrong. And if you, based on that feedback, then do something else and build and invest more money, it could be a much bigger failure. So coming back to your team of people, first you need to start from the inside of the team and company. So for example, we have Vani on the call, who works with me and has been working for some years now. So let me ask Vani if he feels he can give me a safe feedback if something fails. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's listening. Vani, are you there? Probably. I can see that the mic and the camera should be working, but I don't see news. I don't see you, Funny. But okay, I hope that as we say, silence means agreement. That I don't have an issue with like something failed or I failed kind of feedback, because we share the mutual interest of getting it right and not wasting time and money of people involved in a project. So this psychological safety, as Professor Edmondson called it, is a big thing, and you need to make sure that within your team you create that kind of conditions where everybody is able to speak up whenever there is a mistake or a failure without any feelings of blame or guilt. Yeah, so it's like, imagine, I'll talk about the Czech president now, who used to be like a Navy SEAL, like a commando guy, and he used to parachute from helicopters with his team of, usually the team size is about 5. And of course, if someone doesn't provide feedback on that team that is, I don't know, trying to rescue somebody from somewhere, then everybody's lives would be in danger. So they understand that giving a message without any, if it's right or wrong, just provide feedback immediately. Everybody gets it because there are lives involved. Somehow, in other contexts, we like to give a different kind of feedback. We don't like to hear negative or positive things. But imagine if your team were on a mission where the lives of everybody on the team would be at stake, then there would be no reason why to just care about whether it's negative or positive. You just want to survive and accomplish your mission. So, and in that order, by the way, I asked the Czech president, like, if there is a mission to do something, so what is the number one priority? And he said, it's the lives of everybody on the team. That's first, then mission is second. And I think that's the same with business. If you have leaders and you are driving your business and you think, well, the most important thing is to achieve this KPI, some stupid number, and you don't care whether your team members die in the meantime, that's the wrong attitude. So always the people should be number one priority. And okay, achieving a KPI or building a startup in a way should come second. You don't want to be the only one left after a while. But anyway, going back to this blameless reporting idea. For example, in Toyota company making cars, they employ these special strings or cords on the assembly line. So everybody who works on the assembly line, if they feel there is a problem, they did something wrong, they pull the cord so that their superior has some small time to see if that's really serious or not. And if it's serious, then the whole assembly line stops. It costs less to stop the assembly line for a while than it would cost had the line not been stopped by every single employee who works on the assembly line. So if there is even suspicion, even like most of course, these pull downs of the cord, the Anton cord, as they call it, are false alarms, of course, but everybody understands that even if 90% of the calls are false alarms, it still pays off to correct the mistake or deal with the failure as soon as possible. And there is a culture which doesn't punish those that do the false alarms. It's part of the game. It's really important that every suspicion, every smallest indication something is going in the wrong direction is immediately reported and dealt with. And I think that's a basic condition that you should strive to establish culture of blameless reporting in your company, in your team, with your project. Right. So if you've established blameless reporting culture, now how do you prevent those stupid basic mistakes mostly? Because with new territories, there is no recipe, there is no plan how you can prevent failures. So if you are working in a deep tech with new market where there is no experience, there'll be failures and you just have to deal with it. I listened to one startup builder from Slovakia, Juraj Masar, who said, if some failures are those when you are building new stuff very fast in new territory, are like speeding tickets you get. There is no way you can avoid it. If you go too fast, you get a speeding ticket. And usually there is not much you can learn from it. But you can prevent errors and mistakes in, of course, in a simpler context, because there is a procedure and you can minimize these fuck-ups that you, as well as people around you, do commit, because we are humans and we get it wrong sometimes, even in the stupidest concept. So what can you do? You can be like dentists. So meaning you need to visit your dentist for preventive care and maintenance. So rather than waiting for the problem to happen, you should take some preventive measures that will design your internal processes and systems so that you identify potential failures and errors sooner than they appear. You can try to codify certain procedures. So you create manuals. We are all mortal humans, and we like when we can check whether something goes right. So if there are recipes for your favorite Mexican dish, and you know you have to buy onions, you have to buy beef, you have to buy some seasoning, then there is a procedure how to cook it. Then if you feel that this makes sense, just codify your procedures, create a manual, step-by-step approach that everyone follows and checks, because it's really crucial to get rid of those stupid mistakes. You could train your people in different areas where you feel errors, mistakes will appear. So I'm not very good at pushing my team to train anything. They usually learn by doing, and we are all about new territory, so it's very hard, but there are some basic skills that you can train, and then you can failure proof what you do. Again, you could have like a checklist, you could have multiple eyes, not just two, but maybe additional pair of eyes, check everything, go through, so that a chance that a stupid mistake and error gets out unnoticed is minimized. I remember myself, I was working in communication, and we created emailings, leaflets, posters, and now I get it. But at that time I was surprised that even despite maybe 6 pairs of eyes checking on a visual in a poster, there was a mistake in the end, and we had to reprint 100,000 posters because someone didn't check that the date of the event on that poster is in fact the correct one, and it went through 3 people who checked it. So this is really the stupid realm of stupid mistakes, where you can design a procedure that minimizes. It will never be 0, but at least just create a checklist. Even for those people who overlook these marketing materials, you can tell them you need to manually check every box, check the date, check the name, check the logos, check the colors, check I don't know. And had we known this, we probably would not have to spend additional tens of thousands of euros in reprinting everything. So these are some basic suggestions how to minimize those stupid errors. And perhaps we can spend a few minutes talking about your experience with minimizing damage related to people behaving not in the most clever way. So anyone, any lessons they want to share? I really have water in this. Usually people think that there is vodka, just, if you use it in mineral water bottle, it looks innocent, but this is really mineral water. But okay, so I understand it. You are probably walking through forests and not likely to share anything. I'm fine. So, which means basically that you want me to go on for a few more minutes. So I would like to talk about how to utilize, how to learn from failures and to build a more successful project. Well, first, I repeat, you should create an environment where it's fine to admit to making a mistake or failing at something. So provided you identify this environment, sometimes you might want to even on a regular basis, and companies already do this, to ask your team or employees to to share their failures and the lessons they learned from those failures openly in front of everybody else. So you can also call it like a culture or innovation mindset where and not the stupid failures when someone, by mistake sends a wrong message which to their client instead of their partner, then that stupid thing, there is not much you can learn. But those lessons that are complex in new territories, I think it's worth sharing the failures and what you learn also from those failures. It doesn't. Some of I have been organizing fuck up nights and something. It's let's celebrate failure. It's of course nonsense. You shouldn't just worship failure. It doesn't get us anywhere if you just fail and everybody. And if you failed 100 times, you should be a hero. No, you are a stupid person unless you learn something, and that helps you grow. So failing without any learning is not a viable option. The people who fail and don't learn, there is not much one can do but feel sorry. But if you really want to change something, you have to do a post-mortem of the failure. Sometimes it's not pleasant because you have to dig deeper why you failed, why you didn't achieve the goals that you set to achieve. And it might be something about yourself you're doing wrong. It could be about the lots of other stuff. But as some of you know, we tend to blame not ourselves when we make a mistake or when we fail, but we tend to blame someone else or the conditions, or that the timing wasn't right, that the budget wasn't enough, that, I don't know, someone didn't reply in time with their email, etc. So, but when we succeed, we naturally ascribe it to ourselves. We say, I did a great job because I'm the best marketer in the world, and I understand. We don't say, I succeeded because there were people who were really helpful and all the technical stuff worked. We tend to ascribe success to ourselves, whereas we blame our failure on everybody else in natural. It's and these biases, of course, there are lots of them. Okay, so if you manage to create this culture of the growth mindset where failures can be reported immediately without negative emotions, and even though there'll be lots of false alarms, feedback, positive and negative, is treated in the same way. That sounds easy, but it's not. It's, I think, the number one reason why every project fails, because of lack of this kind of culture. Even if you have a great project idea, then someone on the team could tell you, even at the beginning, well, your idea doesn't make sense. Then you might change the idea, and the whole team could be spending time achieving a different goal. But people are not willing to provide you with this kind of feedback immediately. When they like you, when they think maybe, in the end, he or she manages to turn the boat so that we succeed. So it's really important to speak openly with your team members. Again, when I spoke to the Czech president, when he was still a soldier, he told me that the first thing they do within their little squad team, or what's called the commando, is that they talk about the goal, the mission, and everybody's voice has the same weight. It's not that the leader decides everything. They have to agree on everything. So I think that's good inspiration, how the basic environment of psychological safety and growth mindset can be illustrated. Right, then most of, if we are talking about startups, then most of failures come from the team not being a good one. So I'm sure you have lots of examples where this this can be illustrated in the real world. I'll just give you one example, or one team setup that I encounter most of the time, which goes nowhere and usually ends up in failure and the team disintegrating. It's actually having friends on the team. So I'm not sure if you are one of those startups that likes to do business, building a startup with friends or family. Sometimes, of course, there are counterexamples, especially in luxury goods, in fashion. It's all these houses that are family businesses. So if you are into fashion or luxury goods or designs, sometimes you have really family empires like those houses, like Bernard Arnault or others. But if you are building a standard startup in tech or even with impact, where you want to have social impact, I strongly don't recommend. I've seen lots of failures of doing it with a friend, because usually with a friend, the problem is that you like each other very much and you will put that friendship first, even though the business is at stake. Or alternatively, you sometimes have to tell each other something that doesn't feel too friendly, and you could break as friends because of the business, because you have to speak honestly, and you have to forget that you like the person irrationally, maybe, because in the end, every business is about numbers sometimes, and I think it's good there is a double bottom line, meaning there is a financial impact and there is a societal planetary impact of the business you do, but still it's numbers, KPIs. So I discourage you to set up a business with a friend just because you like him or her. It's much more useful to do this with someone who is very much unlike you. So think of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, for example. They are not the same kind of people, personalities, and they had very much different views, and they had lots of arguments. And out of this critical process of struggle, the greatest ideas and startups are born. Very rarely it happens that you are the only founder. Even it looks today, we have a number of single person startups like Elon Musk, I don't know, or maybe even Bill Gates had Paul Allen. So, I mean, when you dig deeper, you always need, and I recommend to find someone else to do business with, to build a startup that is not unlike you. It's usually you meet these people by chance somewhere, by accident, and then you realize that they have what you don't have. So if you are a salesperson or marketer like myself, I need to build a startup with someone who is a tech guy, product guy, a geek, and knows all about technology. I know nothing. But it's important to find this complementarity rather than equality between you, and you understand, it makes sense to work together to build something. So that's most failures in not just startups, but I think in other human enterprises where you need to create a team to achieve something, disintegrated, fail because the people are not able to live and work together. Then number 2 failure is that there is no product market fit. Well, so what do we mean by product market fit? I can tell you my own personal example. When I failed with product market fit, I did this. I even had a startup which I founded with a friend of mine, and we also didn't have product market fit. So we had like a double failure in one startup where we tried to design a dating app. A dating app that would be so advanced that you would not need to provide a picture of yourself. You would not need to describe yourself. So you wouldn't need to speak or say or write anything about yourself. So this is really revolutionary. It was just an algorithm that would connect two people based on the way they tapped the screen of the phone. So, you know, I would do just like this on the phone, and if someone else on the other side of the globe tap the screen the same way, the same pattern, it would connect us and say, it looks that there is something, some magic between you because you tap your fingers the same. So it would connect you. And we thought this would be great. You know, everybody could do this, play this. It would be fun. Maybe there is some truth behind it. We try to see if it works. We build it like a complicated, I don't know, 21-dimensional vector space with different sorts of stuff. We had like physicists and mathematicians helping us. We spent about 20,000 euro just for the development. And then we launched it. Of course, we ran out of money, so we had to launch it only for, I don't know, 1,000 euro budget for advertising, for promotion. And we focused on Silicon Valley because we thought if Mark Zuckerberg or someone in Silicon Valley tries this app, they will immediately understand it's amazing. It's the future of dating, and we will get an investor really soon. So after I think a month, we had about 50 users from Silicon Valley, plus the two of us from Prague. And then gradually all the users left, and basically we were again the only two left in that application. And then when we did a post-mortem, well, we didn't do it really, but now looking backwards, we didn't ask any user at all if they would be excited by this way of meeting new people. We just knew, we thought we knew that this was the future. This is the logical step, you know, things in tech getting easier and easier, and people, you know, from buttons moving to screens. And then what's next? You know, people will not want to speak, will not need pictures. It will be something very intuitive and not rational. So we thought, why not this? But we didn't ask anyone. We didn't do our exercise in design thinking and creating prototypes, piloting. We just thought no. And we were fascinated by our products, that we spent a lot of money until we had a great product. And only then did we realize no one was interested. And of course it was with a friend, so we didn't discuss it probably openly. We didn't criticize each other. We didn't suggest new things. So I think this is quite a model example of how not to go forward. A third failure is that there is competition that is doing it better and will do it better. So I always encourage you, either you are in the business for, say, monetary reason or lifestyle reason, or you could be on a mission. You have a mission to make an impact in the world, and you want to make it better. You know you can make it better. And for example, you want to, I don't know what, you want to save stray cats. I can see a cat right now in my garden. So why not saving a stray cat application, mobile, and somehow identification, something. And so you start, you check the competition. You see some startups, not in your country, but maybe around the world, yeah, in the same direction, doing it maybe something different. But it's always a good sign if there are competitors that do the same thing as you do. Otherwise, your idea is probably just doesn't make sense. There is no market for it. And then, but instead of joining maybe a startup, either even in a different country, like if they have traction, they have already built more, and they are on a path to success, then most startups prefer to build their own thing. So you have to say honestly to yourself whether mission is important or the impact, or whether you want to own something and do it on your own, regardless of the mission, because it might be reasonable to actually join someone else on their mission. You know, imagine either you join Jesus as an apostle, so yeah, I'm one of the apostles or followers, oh, I want to be the new Jesus, the alternative Jesus, you know. But if you share the same mission, then it might make more sense to becoming one of his apostles. And this is especially important if you are building a social impact startup, that you don't have to be the one doing it, you know, having your own startup, because then you like to meet your friends in a cafe and say, oh, I also have a startup. You know, you are a startup. It feels better in a way, but it might be just shattering the resources and time instead of fighting for a common cause and joining a movement or a startup that is further away and has bigger chance of having a bigger impact than your own little startup. Still, most of us quite naturally go for the option of, I want to build my own thing because, you know, I want to have a startup, or I want to open my whatever stray cat application worldwide. I have to give it a go. So I think this ego of ours pushes us into doing our things instead of admitting that someone else is doing it better and we should join him if we really, or her, if we believe it makes sense. So I see this quite often with startups that want to make a change in the world, but still prefer to do a small thing on their own rather than helping the big thing. Right, so we said the failures of startups. I think number one is the team, number two is product market fit, and only then are things like money or resources or all the other reasons why it might help. Usually people especially in tech tell me, I didn't find an investor, I had to close down, I ran out of money. And that seems to be like number one reason if you just listen to people. But according to research on all the statistics, it's not number one reason. It's maybe number 4 or 5, lack of money and resources. Because one of the key skills that you have to master is something called bootstrapping, even with stuff that requires investment and money. Why is it important? It's not important for how to say, for the thing itself, the matter, why it matters. It's important as a sign that you are able to find creative ways how to still execute and deliver with limited resources. And later on, when you meet investors and you still manage to achieve or build something on your own without so much money, then it's a proof that you can make it big later on with bigger money. So I see a lot of startups who come to me and say, okay, I'm looking for a pre-seed investment. And I ask them, so what have you built? Show me. And I haven't built anything because I don't have money. That's why I need an investor to build this great idea and then show me their pitch deck, which is a wonderful idea, but they have not done anything. They have just built a website maybe. So to me, what does it say as potential investor? Well, this guy just hasn't been able to find any creative way to actually build at least something that would prove product market fit, that would test the ability of his or her team to work together. And then I see just a pitch deck with few faces as a team, and when I ask them, what have you done? No, we just need first money and then we do something. So I strongly discourage you to do this. Rather small, build whatever, however small the thing may be, just build it first, get some traction, get some confirmation about a need in the market for your solution, how you differentiate from your competitors. And the best thing is paying customers. So if you achieve, no matter how many, it can be few customers, tens of customers, just this is the biggest, greatest currency for anyone who will want to support you as you grow. It's just showing traction, showing there is a market for your solution, which is the only decision maker in the end. It's the, as they say, the dollars in the pockets of real people that are willing to pay for this. Of course, if you are in a business where you can't use the standard market mechanism, where the value is expressed as the token of value is money, and you are into grants, or you achieve financing in different ways, non-market solutions, that could be a bit different. But in the end, I strongly recommend whatever you're building, even if it's a social impact, if it's a pro bono, financed by donors and grants, then still try to build some element how the user can really vote whether she or he finds value and extracts value from your product. So instead of relying on donors and grants, just try to find maybe a third way how to monetize your idea, because that's the greatest thing, when actually people are willing to pay for what you do. Then you can be certain it makes sense. Right, I think I will stop now and give you opportunity to ask questions, because we have last 10 minutes. None of you have left, which is great, amazing. I usually leave these webinars after first 5 minutes. So either you are somewhere else and the the iPhone or whatever you have is just there, but maybe you are there. So I'm happy to take questions now if you have regarding anything. Yes, Blanca, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. So I'm interested in your opinion. In our company, we have more teams in development. Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. So in our company, we have more teams in our development. And for example, one of them failed. For example, in product development, product launch, business model, or something like this. And if we would like to analyze the failure or the mistake, what happened, and it's of course connected with the emotions, as you said, and so on, should we spend much more time in analyzing what happened or lessons learned? Because it can also somehow turn into a wall of shame. Do you think what I mean? If we compare more teams, one between each other and so on. So I think there's tight line between the lessons learned and wall of shame, how to work with the failures in more teams and in bigger companies.
Yeah, this is a very good question. I actually was involved in a couple of projects where we try to set up a procedure or a system how to encourage teams to share the failures and draw lessons. As you said, that's it's not very pleasant usually, but what works really well is that the team that failed, and I'm not saying it was the intelligent failure in new territory and there was no recipe for anything. Maybe there were elements that if they had followed some rules and could have turned out, but regardless, it really pays off for that team to prepare a presentation for everyone else about the lessons from their failure and what they learned and how they grew based on that. And this happened to me for the first time a while ago at a hackathon I was organizing, and one of the teams did not submit their work, the hack as we call it. They had to submit, all the other teams submitted code, they created a prototype, and this one team did not. And instead of leaving the hackathon, he presented or demoed the reasons or the issues that they encountered that led to them not submitting their work. And that was really useful, and one of the biggest rounds of applause I have heard at such an event from the rest of the audience. So why not create maybe on Friday evening, like a opportunity for those teams that failed to present in front of everyone the lessons from that failure, because all of the others will learn from that. And also it will encourage this blameless kind of culture. You know, there is no, it's not wrong to to fail if you learn from something. So I would encourage maybe try to organize a meeting sometimes with a beer or pizza or whatever, informal, where every month, for example, a team that failed at something could present to the others. And I think this could be even encouraged, and some special reward could be made from you as maybe a larger company. You could give them a special T-shirt or whatever, that they are brave enough to share their lessons with the rest of the company.
Yeah, thank you. I understand, like beginning at a more friendly way than to force them, and so yeah. Thank you.
Oh, still time for one more.
Hello, Thomas. Can I ask you a question, please?
Yes, go ahead, Pepa.
I wonder, because last week you met Amy Edmondson in Prague, and of course you are in the area of mistakes, failures, fuck-ups for so many years. And was there anything that Amy Edmondson told at the meeting that was surprising for you, or let's say mind-opening, that you haven't thought about before? Any surprise from Amy?
Well, probably it's the fact that even the stupid and small or basic mistakes can really have like grave consequences. And we usually say that failure is good, and we tend to think about this intelligent failure in new areas where there are no prior knowledge or recipes from which to learn. But it did not occur to me that there is much more to be lost due to small and stupid mistakes or errors. So sometimes it would just pay off for an organization or a startup to focus on like minimizing the impact of those stupid mistakes, as I illustrated with the posters. And Amy mentions I think a case of airline pilots that in the end their mistake, a little stupid error, led to the death of I don't know how many hundreds passengers, because of the power of habit. And it's something that we all fall prey to, is that if we have a habit of something and we have been doing the same procedure for years and years, it's very easy for a stupid error and mistake to be made. And these pilots, Amy explains in her book, and she also spoke about it at the presentation when she was in Prague, is that they were used to flying in warm climate in the south of the US, and suddenly they had to fly a flight that was going north when there was winter and ice. And they had a routine check where one of the pilots says, well, what about the anti-ice? And the other one confirmed the status in front of him, saying anti-ice off. And none of them realized they were no longer flying in the warm climate, but because in fact this was the exceptional flight, and the power of habit caused in the way, and lack of procedures to minimize this kind of errors, death of hundreds of passengers. So I think that even focusing on these small errors and mistake, especially when there are not breaks that the error can go through, as Professor Reason calls it, the Swiss cheese model. So if there is a hole in Swiss cheese and there are multiple layers of safety procedures, and occasionally the multiple layers align in such a way that the hole in the cheese lets your mistake slip the whole way, and something really bad happens. So these are the catastrophes, like Titanic, like all the big ones, like the Challenger and Columbia, disasters, all these in fact were mostly about these small stupid mistakes and lack of preventive mechanism and procedures that would eliminate it. So, and also power of habit. So I think this is maybe something that we should think more is about how to challenge our habits, the ways that things have been done in the past and will have to work because they worked in the past. For this era, especially in tech, and it's changing so fast that something that has been true over past decades no longer holds. But we just grew accustomed to how things have been done, and now really we can fail because the power of our habits. So that was that was something new, and I haven't thought about this, how much damage in fact is done by just stupid mistakes.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so let's have very last question of today's mastermind. Well, if not, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I hope this has been stimulating. Pepa wasn't here at the beginning, but I did some selling of our book that we wrote together. I don't know if you see it. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. It's called The Art of Failure, available in Czech, and soon it will be available in English. So if you're interested, you just reach out to me. I will send you a link to our eShop, and I hope you will have a great rest of the day and also end of the week. And it's been a pleasure. So just fail intelligently. That's my message.
I think that's
Bye-bye.
good takeaway. And I also want to add something very shortly, that this was one of our masterclasses, and we will have more later. You can check that out as well. And we also have a very nice pitching competition coming up. So if you have a startup, you should sign up and apply for that as well. So thank you very much again from the organizers' side as well, and have a nice evening.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Tschüss.